Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada, you know we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe, but there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, on a beautiful May the 7th, 2019, Grando Deportes, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, it's one of those miserable days. You know, last week I was telling you about all those fake Thin Mint cookies that I ate last week.
Yeah.
and I thought I was going to be losing weight, so I'm thinking about going in and getting a little liposuction, so I can tell everybody that the Thin Mint cookies worked and that the Girl Scouts weren't pulling a host on everybody.
All right. Well, be careful when they use that vacuum, what they're sucking on, Big C. That sometimes it pulls out intestines that you might need. I know everybody needs something, Big C. It's all fair love and war. And I hope the Girl Scouts that sell those Thin Mint cookies, they need to say it's just a flavor. It has nothing to do with what it does for your body. It's all fair love and war.
It does a lot for the body, but it doesn't do the body good, Charlton. I mean, every guy that bought all those Thin Mint cookies and got on the scale said the scale was lying to him, not the Girl Scouts.
Yeah, they say the scales are lying, but we know it's all fair and love and war. So much happening in the sports universe. NBA basketball is fantastic. You know, I tuned into an NBA game last night. I thought I was watching football. It was Houston versus Golden State, but it's all fair and love and war, as we know. There's still some talk about, did the horse cross the line? Big C, you ever cross the line with anything? It's funny, they blame a horse. The horse, like, what line? There was all this mud out there, Big C. They didn't see a line. We know NHL hockey is always great when you have Game 7. Baseball, you know, the swing of the bat is always good, even though it's still taking a back seat to playoffs in the NBA and even the NHL. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars. So, Big C, I know there's a lot of weather going on down south. Just want to have you speak up on the microphone and make sure that we can all hear. Now, I just want to say, did you say you went and had the Girl Scout cookie sucked out of you? Is that what you said, Big C?
Well, that's what I'm thinking about, Charlton, because as I keep eating these Thin Mint cookies, I mean, I see an adverse reaction to them. That I'm gaining weight and the cookies are disappearing. So I thought it'd be vice versa. If the weight of the cookies disappeared, I would lose weight. So, I'm going to have to go consult a medical advisor about these Thin Mint cookies, a dietitian or something, but this is false advertisement from one of the greatest little girl organizations in the world, Charles.
Yeah, or sometimes we just got to put our eyeglasses on when we're reading. I do want to ask you something, because I know, and you don't have to share it, but I know sometimes all of us as men and women, we need to go in and get our checkups. And sometimes only a foolish person wouldn't do that. We all know we need health care. Get it now before POTUS decide to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. But I just want to ask your thoughts, if you care to share with men, especially men of color, that for some reason, because maybe we refuse to go to the doctor or don't know we have access to it, sometimes we don't have the health that we should, pejoratively speaking. Just give me your thought on what advice you would give to men, Big C, about checkups. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's a stigma amongst black men that, not go to the doctor to be strong, and you can beat anything with an old remedy or wise tale, Charlton. But it's an American honor and privilege to be able to go to the doctor for pre-screening of any type. Yeah. You think about colon cancer being one of the biggest problems there is within African-American community. Prostate cancer, Charlton, is a huge problem. And a lot of these things are not invasive like they used to be, especially on colon screening. Right. You no longer have to go through the colonoscopy that, was once, dreaded by all men. Right. But I think just, that myth about being strong in the black community and not showing a sign of weakness by going to a doctor. Regardless of your culture, go to the doctor, get a checkup. Even if you have to go to an emergency room. But health care is the primary detractor amongst so many people in America. And that's why You know, you got politicians, mainly the Republicans, trying to abolish Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah.
The more people you have healthy in this country, then that means the more people you have an opportunity to vote.
Yeah.
And these people don't want people voting against them, so they would rather that Americans have failing health and die because of lack of health coverage.
And I want to just add to all of us as men, not just the United States, but everywhere in the universe, go get your checkup. Go get your screening. We hear women getting their mammography, their mammograms done, and sometimes they'll do their own examinations. And we know men, sometimes we can be taught how to do the same thing, Big C. So I'm just glad that we can
Charlton,
share that.
You just mentioned mammographies, Charlton. That's even done on men.
Yeah.
Little known fact, men can develop breast cancer also.
Right.
And so people who think that that's just a female problem, that only females develop breast cancer, no, men get it also.
Yeah.
So anytime you have an opportunity to do a complete checkup, don't fail yourself. Go to the doctor, make an appointment, get that checkup, because the life that you save could be your own.
It may be your own. If you have family members, just go get them. We go out and get coffee. We go out and get a bite to eat, or people want to sit down and watch the game. But have that conversation, and don't assume that your parents have gotten their stuff done. Make sure you're getting your parents to the doctors if you can. I know you don't have to do it. It's just a nice thing to pass around, because so many people, they just don't do it. I hear so many ignorant men in 2016 are we 2019, Big C? I guess I've been having too many libations, but since 2016.
Well, if you turn the number upside down, it can be.
It's too much vibranium in the air, Big C. It makes me a little lightheaded at times. But I tell you, if we know, and I just got to share this because I talk to men, about this age group that we're in, and many guys will say, "Oh no, I don't go to the doctor. I just pray." You can pray that the doctor will take you in. I just think it's a great PSA that we can give, and you get that from Big C Sports. I also want to say, I remiss that yesterday was the great Willie Mays' birthday. Turned 88 years old. One of the greatest baseball players in the universe. The great Willie Mays, the Say Hey Kid, the guy that has a statue at now Oracle Ballpark in San Francisco. I still call it AT&T Park. It's had so many names. Giant Stadium for the San Francisco Giants. I remember my father telling me about Willie Mays. And as a young boy, you think, okay, well, you watch Willie Mays, but you might think, well, was he as good as Reggie Jackson? Because that's the era that I grew up watching Reggie Jackson do his thing. And he said, oh, yeah, he was a lot better than Reggie Jackson. I want to get your feeling on happy birthday to Willie Mays, even though it was yesterday. I still want to pay homage to it because he's meant so much to so many people all over the universe. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, as you say, Charlton, a belated happy birthday to the Say Hey Kid. Willie Mays was one of the greatest baseball players of his era. When you think about the dominance of the African-American players in the 50s and the 60s, being introduced into Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
He played in an era when there were so many dominant African-Americans. You think about Willie Mays, the late Frank Robinson, the great Hank Aaron, Charlton.
Yeah.
These players who just dominated baseball during that era.
Yeah.
Ernie Banks of the Cubs. Willie Mays stood head and shoulders above everybody. Everybody thought he was the greatest player of his era.
Yeah.
And he's always synonymous with the over-the-shoulder catch at Ebbets Field in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
When he made that historical catch that now has become everyday play in Major League, but no one had seen it prior to him doing that,
Right.
Charlton. But not only that, is that the way he carried himself as a player and as a person during the times of segregation in America.
Yeah.
And he had to play in all of those ballparks, Charlton, where he dealt with the racial vitriol all the time when he was on the road.
Yeah.
And even some home games.
Yeah.
But, the character of that man during that era that molded him to be what he is today and has been throughout his lifetime, Charlton.
Yeah.
Growing up in the South, that's where Willie Mays grew up. He grew up in Jim Crow.
Yeah.
But he escaped it through professionalism and becoming a Major League Baseball player.
Yeah.
As so many African Americans did of that era.
Yeah.
But you think about what he has meant to that Bay Area. You think about the championships that were won in Oakland.
Yeah.
Prior to San Francisco going on their run in the 2000s, winning three
in 10
championships.
years. Yeah.
He won one in New York as a player.
Yeah.
Before they moved to San Francisco. But him as a person, being an ambassador for that great city and that great sport.
Yep.
Just a marvelous, marvelous human being.
Yeah, and I just appreciate being able to still say, because we have so much richness here in Northern California from everything. I know when we talk about richness in California, not only do we have the hills that are filled with gold and vibranium, Big C. I know when you guys say rich, you mean like candy and dough and what do you guys call rich? Is it desserts, Big C? Your thoughts, like Thin Mint cookies?
Well, Charlton, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of richness in the food and in the desserts down here in South. But I want to go a step further about Willie Mays.
Yeah.
Think about if Willie Mays were to go on Twitter and tweet the type of vitriol that 49ers first-round draft pick Joey Bosa has done.
Yeah,
if he used racial epithets as a human being, as an athlete, as a person.
Yeah.
How would the public view Willie Mays? I know Richard Sherman came out today and said, we got to look beyond the tweets of Joey Bosa. It's all about whether he can play football or not. You got to understand, this is the same Richard Sherman who blasted his teammate Russell Wilson for not using racist chants in Seattle. He didn't use any racist tweets.
No.
But Richard Sherman tried to throw, the quarterback Russell Wilson under the bus.
Yeah.
But yet here it is. He's kissing the butt of Joey Bosa there in San Francisco.
Yeah, and he did kiss his butt because he's the same guy that I remember when Colin Kaepernick threw it past the Crabtree up in Seattle, and it was batted by one of the players. I think it was Sherman that got a hand on it, and then one of the linebackers intercepted it, and it was an NFC Championship game. And he talked about, don't ever say anything about me. Don't ever open your mouth about me. And all he was saying is, I can beat this guy. He wasn't calling the N-word and you blippity blip and you N-word this and you N-word that. So maybe Richard Sherman did what they call, maybe the organization got to him and said, look, we don't care about affirmative action and equality. Just tell every bigot that he's okay. Just tell every bigot he's okay, so that way we don't have to fix it. And then maybe the next guy they'll come out with is Harry Edwards, and maybe Harry Edwards will come out and say, hey, it's okay. The N-word is not really a bad thing. We just got to all forgive each other. Does that make any sense, your thoughts, Big C?
Well, yeah, it seems that's the way that San Francisco is going. Maybe John Lynch came out and told him, look, you want to be a part of the roster this year, you got to accept the N-word being thrown at you and your culture and the rest of your teammates. Because we cherish this guy more than we do you. We paid Jimmy Garoppolo, a white quarterback, $137 million this year. We made this white bigot our number one draft pick, and we're going to embrace him. So the African-American players, even though you're the majority of the roster, just be happy to be here.
Be happy to be here. And you just make me think sometimes. I think about the great Willie Mays and the hatred that he had to go through, and the hatred that many of the black athletes have to go through, hearing the N-word like it was a handshake. And he's in that same Bay Area that just drafted Bosa. And I'm sure Bosa's parents raised him to be that way because they never came out and apologized for the bigotry of their son. They said, hey, we're going to get a football contract. Who cares? And the 49er organization, and I know people say, well, let's be politically correct. Let's not talk about it. Black men are still the most ostracized in this country, the most easily thrown into the criminal justice system without some type of representation. And when you have intelligent men holding their tongue, and we're only left for the dumb guys to speak up, I lost a little bit of respect for Richard Sherman because I know he's a guy that went to Stanford. He's an erudite man. He's very smart. But I would love him to show those tweets that Bosa put out there and his friend put out there. Show them to his mother. He made a commercial with his mom having some of his soup when he played up in Seattle. Get that tweet and show it to your mom and ask her how she feels about it. And if you can, show it to your grandparents if they're still around. I don't take that lightly. And I wonder if they would ask Willie Mays what he thought of Bosa's tweets. Did anyone ever ask the great Willie Mays, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I looked at all the draft preponderance, on draft night when they tried to say that the Bosa family is now the second family of professional football. After the Manning family. The Manning family was the first family to have 3 quarterbacks drafted in the first round of the NFL draft.
Yeah.
And then, when Bosa was drafted, it was the first family to have 3 defensive players drafted, the father and 2 sons.
Yeah.
But the thing about it, Charlton, the Manning family, even though they were reared in the South, you didn't see any racist tweets from Archie Manning.
Total class.
You didn't see any racist tweets from Peyton Manning.
Total
you didn't
class.
see any racist tweets from Eli Manning.
Nope.
So the class and the classless, the class list, rather, if you want to talk about first and second families of pro football.
Yeah.
The Mannings have been class. They've been a class act the entire time. that they participated in the NFL. They've accepted what's been there.
Yeah.
They've dealt with their teammates. They've lived in the South. You know, and here's the Bosa's who haven't lived in the South. But if that's going to be the second family of pro football, then it's the first racist family of pro football. That's how they have to be labeled.
Yeah, maybe Sherman doesn't know that they had voter obstruction down in Georgia just last year, Big C. Maybe he doesn't read as much since he left Stanford. I understand you forgive people, but you forgive when people come out and atone in front of the whole universe, not just in the locker room, in front of the universe. Come out and say how that was hateful. Come out and say how that was very hurtful for people. But if you act like it's not, then they got you too, and hopefully it doesn't affect your kids down the road when somebody calls them that. Big C, I know I watch a lot of NBA basketball, and I've been talking about my friend in Las Vegas with the prop betting. You know, the sports universe is very small. It's a small world, as somebody told me. He said, Charlton, on this side, there's a small business. Everybody knows some of everybody. I want to congratulate TNT last night, as I love watching Shaq and Charles Barkley and Kenny the Jet Smith and Ernie over the years. But you know, we've been talking about prop bets with my friend. Well, they went up. They didn't say they got it from Big C Sports, but they did a whole show on prop betting. In fact, they had some lady come out from Las Vegas, and she was at Caesar's Palace. The great Eva Knievel knows about Caesar's Palace from back in the day. And it was presented by one of their sponsors, but they had her talk about the prop betting. They'd only heard about prop bets from Big C Sports. They did a whole segment. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we've talked about this on many occasions. Whatever we do on our show within the next 24 to 48 hours, you're going to hear it on other airways.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The respect that we get for doing what we do on air is that everybody else is listening, whether it's the broadcasters or their production staff, Charlton, their research staff, listening to us to find out what we're talking about. We've been trailblazers ever since we've been on air.
Yeah.
Because we have not had to live by the lines of traditional broadcasting.
Yeah.
We can be edgy about anything. We can be honest about everything.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been. We've been honest about how sports is played, how the gambling has affected sports over the years, not just as players, but as officials and everybody else. And it's ironic, Charlton, that everything we've talked about as far as gaming and sports has been coming to fruition.
Yep.
You know, and especially since the Supreme Court lifted its ban, we talked about how gambling would affect all levels of sports. We talked about months ago when they were having basketball state championship playoffs, how an announcer talked about, well, they didn't cover the spread.
High school team.
Spread on a high school basketball game.
Yeah.
And now that the NBA, and this is something that the NBA has always fought against, gambling, Charlton.
Yep.
You think about Donahue, the official who went to prison for betting on games. Now the NBA is comfortable incorporating it into the broadcast to tell people, you need to be paying attention to this because we have a partnership with Las Vegas to gamble.
Yeah.
You think about the NFL has also joined partnership with Caesar's Palace because they're going to Vegas next year. You think that the NBA is not far behind? There will be an NBA franchise in Las Vegas, Charlton, in the next 5 years. You already have the NHL. You have the NFL. You think the NBA is not going to miss out on that money, Charlton?
Wow.
Every professional organization, and baseball will not be far behind. Vegas will become a professional sports mecca. The gambling is all across the country. So now Vegas is not out of the realm. The professional leagues had fought against that because of gambling. But now that you can gamble in every state, it's there. But, you know, it's impressive that you've spoke about prop betting for the lengthiest of time, Jonathan. And now the TNT wants to have it as a major part of their broadcast.
David, I said, that's not my friend. That my friend is a guy, and he's a Caucasian guy, so he blends in very well. They brought a white lady up, and then she had the mini skirt. I don't know why they had to have her in a mini skirt. None of the guys had a mini skirt on, but maybe they want the eye optics. I think for women that you want to be taken serious, have the men dress like you. She could have come on with a suit. I mean, everybody has their own opinion. That's just my opinion. But I just say it's real. And how real it is, think about this. In the game with Houston and Golden State, why doesn't Coach Kerr call a timeout when they're down 17? How do they get down 17? If you're down 17, you probably at some point were down by 15. If you're down 15, you probably at some point was down by 13. If you're down 13 at some point, maybe 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, you get that run of 4, maybe there are 7 points ahead. Don't you call a timeout? How does Kerr let the point spread get so high, prop betting happens like the click of your clock, Big C? Does that make any sense, your thoughts?
Well, you have to stem the tide when you're a coach. You got to slow momentum. That's always been one of the mantras of coaching. But also in prop betting, you can talk about who'll score the next 10 points in prop betting.
Yeah.
So if they're up by 17, you say, okay, Golden State is going to close the gap.
Yeah.
Based on NBA standards, you're not going to let this run up to 25 in a playoff game. So they'll get it back down to single digits.
Yep.
You can place a prop bet on that.
Yeah.
You'll get it back down to single digits, in the next 2 minutes. And these things happen throughout the contest.
Yeah.
And so as these games are going the way that they're going, and the prop betting has become so inevitable that you want to put it in broadcast on television, and you only need a cellular device in your hand or a computer in front of you at home to place a bet.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to a casino anymore. Everybody's linked up online.
Yeah.
So they're giving the person the comfort of their living room, their recliner,
Yep.
the outdoor patio to place a prop bet. That's what it's all about now. So as you're advertising, I would say, Charlton, in the next 2 years,
Yeah.
you'll see odds popped up on the side of the screen, just like, when you look at the NFL Network,
Yeah.
and they have all the scores up there. You're going to see prop betting in all professional sports up on the side of the screen in the next 2 years.
Yeah, you don't think Tony Romo knows some prop betting people, Big C? They say, how does Tony Romo know what play they're going to run? Does that make any sense?
Well, Tony does advertise that, for the gamers. I mean, he's holding, CBS ransom for $10 million. But he said, look, I got the prop bettors paying me off regardless.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling them what to look for. So as you can push a button instantaneously and get a prop bet off prior to the start of the play,
Yep.
Tony Romo is a go-between. He's a segue for prop bettors, Charlton.
Yeah.
And he's going to help or hurt the casinos.
Well, I'm telling everybody right now, anyone can brag about what they do, but Google what Big C Sports has been saying. We're the only one in the only sports show in the universe that was talking about that. TNT went and made it a segment. So good job, Shaq and Charles and Kenny and Ernie. Keep up doing the work. Hey, I just want to get your feelings on something. I'm a touchy-feely guy. I know you didn't really have emotions for people playing D-line.
I'm right now after all them thin cookies. I tell you, I can say I'm a fluffy guy now.
Okay, well, fluff aside, Golden State Warriors, they were dominated in the paint once again, a lack of having a big man in the game, and now the series is tied at 2 games apiece. The Houston prop bet Rockets and the Chris what's that guy's name that falls out when you look at him? Chris Paul. Did you see when he tried to raise up?
Chris Paul,
yeah, Chris Paul. His last name is Chris Paul. They think it's Chris Paul. Do you see when Chris Paul tried to flop against Durant, and then Durant walked over and said something to it? I guess Durant looked a little bit bigger when he started acting tough. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we talked about this last night in the show. When you talked about, would Boogie Cousin be a detriment to the Warriors if he returned? Would he slow the team down? And I explained to you that point. He would be an asset because now you got a presence in the paint.
Yeah.
You can cover the basket. And that's what Golden State has been lacking thus far in this series, is any defensive presence. Once you get past your man coverage, and if you look at this Rockets offense, they're spreading the floor.
Yeah.
They're leaving the paint wide open, so there's no big man to cover the paint. Where in the NBA, you're allowed to play zone defense, so you can slough off a big man. They just don't have them to do that. And if Cousins was in the lineup, who's more athletic than Bogut, it would be an asset to it. But that's where the Warriors' Achilles' heels is right now.
Yeah.
If they continue to play the way that they're playing, they're not going to make it out of this series. Rockets are going to sweep them in this series if they continue to play defense the way that they are.
Yeah. And you can't, everybody has their own opinion. I'm sure in Houston, Harden never shot a shot that he wasn't fouled on. If you're in Golden State, it looks like they're beating up Curry. And Steve Kerr's passive. A passive man will let you slap him in the face and say, hey, are you okay? Is your hand okay? Kerr, this real talk, he can say what he wants to say. But when he says, well, they're all like football players and they're playing very physical, and we're not very physical, we're more like a track team. No, you're being beaten up and they're getting away with it. Act like you got a little stones and call a timeout, get into the official's face about it.
Well, we just got past Cinco de Mayo, so you can say cojones.
Okay, it's all fair and level war. So Houston, congratulations, they propped it up. I mean, they tied it up with the prop betting. It just so happened with the prop bets coming out that you realize how many times they're shooting threes. They're the more physical team, but they call for the fewest amount of fouls in the game. I don't know how the more team that's finesse gets called for more fouls, but we'll see what happens in that series. I want to get your thoughts on something, because I think it's unfair what people are doing to Paul Pierce. I don't know Paul Pierce. Is he good at what he does? He's getting paid. Doesn't matter how good he is. But when you think about Paul Pierce, what he said after game 1 of the Celtics series, in the Bucks series, that it was all over in the Celtics after their first win because he was being a homer. He lacked the objectivity that most people have when you come to calling a game, and that's just a fact. But why they're jumping all over him, he's not in on prop bettings. If it is, his prop went bad, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, no, Paul Pierce was correct. You know, and I'm all about Paul Pierce.
Yeah.
He was correct. The series is over. Look over the Milwaukee. They're up 3-1.
Yeah.
The series is over. So he was correct. He just didn't
he had the wrong team.
You know, so, I mean, his prognostication was correct. It was right on spot.
Yeah.
Because Giannis and the Bucks have been taking it to the Celtics. I mean, there's been some poor shooting on the Celtics' behalf.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's blasting Kyrie Irving more than they're blasting Paul Pierce.
Yeah.
Talking about his atrocious shooting. You know, he got 22 points in the last game that they lost.
Yeah.
That's not a horrific night scoring 22 points. I don't know how many points Gordon Hayward got, but no one said anything negative about Gordon Hayward.
No.
So everybody is saying, as the Boston Celtics go, Kyrie Irving, you know, is going to determine whether they win or lose, not the other players in the lineup. But the last I checked, this was a team game in basketball. Well, when you have one of the elite players in the NBA in Milwaukee, you know, in Giannis, but you got to also look at Bledsoe, who has been a dominant player.
Yeah.
So he's countered anything that the Celtics have tried to do. I mean, the young players that we saw last year for the Celtics, Tatum, Brown, Rozier, they haven't had an opportunity in the playoffs this year to dominate like they did last year, being the floor leaders. I mean, everything went through them. They had Horford backing them up.
Yeah.
That's just not the roles that they have this year. They brought in Morris, you know, after he'd missed 3 games.
Yeah.
So the rhythm of the team, Charlton, is not there because you're trying to incorporate too many moving parts, and the young players are frustrated because they're not getting an opportunity to play the roles that they had last season.
Yeah, maybe Paul Pierce, he just identified the wrong dream. That's all it was, Big C. But it's all fair and love and war. You have the game tonight that really determines if Boston will go fishing early. Now, the 76ers and the Toronto Raptors, you know, the Portland Trail Blazers, Denver Nuggets, Boston Celtics, Milwaukee Bucks, Houston Rockets, Golden State Warriors, of the 8 teams that's left in the NBA playoffs, there's only one Caucasian NBA All-Star player. I'll give you, what's that show called? Barker, Let's Make a Deal. Give me which team has that one player, Big C, that's Caucasian. Your thoughts?
But Charlton, we're only looking at Nikola Jokic in Denver. You know, when you look at an NBA broadcast, and we think about the vitriol that goes around this country and voter suppression, and in politics, and people say, well, you don't want to mix politics and sports, Charlton.
Yes, you do.
You think about that. When it comes to watching an NBA game, Charlton, you look at all the white faces that are in the stands.
Yep.
And unless you're in Utah and they're using the racial epithet.
Right.
Everyone appreciates African Americans when it comes to sports.
When you have a uniform.
Nikola Jokic, and he's not even an American when you think about it.
No.
But you look at what he has done. He has had 4 triple-doubles in the playoffs, this year.
Yeah,
4.
he's amazing.
You know, he's one of only 4 7-footers to have triple-doubles in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about Kareem doing it last night. Elijah Wan has done it also, Charlton. But Nikola Jokic has been able to hold his own in the NBA and as well as in the playoffs, being the leader in Denver, a perennial all-star.
Yep.
You know, second in the league in triple-doubles in this last season, behind Russell Westbrook, who has been eliminated from the playoffs. But when you think about that, and people want to talk about sports as galvanizing, the NBA is the National Brothers Association, realistically.
Yep.
They could change that moniker to what it means, the National Brothers Association. And they let a couple of white guys come in and play. But you look at all the teams that are in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And when you talk about the superstars every night,
Yeah.
you know, you talked about the game in Toronto tonight. What they're talking about is Embiid versus Leonard.
Yeah.
You know, that's the moniker for the game.
Yeah.
You know, they're not talking about the Sixers versus the Raptors.
Right.
It's Embiid versus, Leonard.
Yeah.
That's how that game is being sold. And then when you look at that Western playoff game, Charlton, it's Denver versus Portland because the media, and this is the media doing it, they don't want to highly publicize a white guy in the NBA.
That's true.
They don't feel that he's part of the moniker. So they say the Nuggets versus the Blazers. And in Toronto, it's Embiid versus Leonard.
Yeah, we know that they always sell it like Jordan and the Chicago Bulls and Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. They all do that. I want to do what we call coming up on a Big C pause. We're going to take a pause, and we're going to come back, and I want to get your thoughts on some more of the things that are happening in the world of the NBA. All right, Big C, we are back with our Big C pause, and I love what we do. I love with a passion Big C Sports and how we bring things to reality. And the fact that people, because I hear a lot of people that say, well, man, how do you know that if that is going to work? You don't want to have some athlete come on and hey, man, what I think about. No, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to embarrass people who have a fear of speaking in public. Mainstream might say, well, they're not articulate. Well, if you put a lot of athletes on, and I know a lot of people are doing that and saying, why won't the guys talk? Public speaking is one of the greatest fears in the universe. And when a guy is called to do that, sometimes they don't know what they're going to say. Sometimes they're nervous, so they may not sound all that well spoken. So I don't want to have that mentality where you get people on to make fun of them like a lot of people are doing. I want to get and they did that for the Players Only broadcast, and you know what I'm talking about. But give me your feeling as we go north across the border. Philadelphia, they're going to come so close to winning this game. But what I don't like about what's happening is when star players are making it public that they have a tummy ache and they may not be able to play and they need some Pepto-Bismol. I think that sends a negative message to your team. You got to have guys that can say that we're going to win. We're invincible. Even if you don't feel it. Does that make any sense? Your thoughts?
Well, no, it doesn't send a negative message to the team. It sends a positive message to the gamblers, Charlton.
Oh, okay.
Because you got the injury list.
Naive me.
You keep talking about prop betting. Embiid listens to the show. So he's setting up the prop betting. But you got to understand, Embiid has been ill this entire series. He missed 3 games in the first series that the Sixers played.
Yeah.
He has not been healthy throughout the playoffs. So whatever is ailing him could be a legitimate thing, Charlton.
Yeah.
But here's a situation where he's had 2 IVs in this series.
Yeah.
That he's had to have. He's had to have one pre-game, and he's had to have one during a game.
Yeah.
So whatever illness is bothering him is something that needs to be medically looked at.
Yeah.
Teams don't always give the full exploit of an injury on a player.
Right.
But Embiid has been troubled throughout the NBA playoffs this year, Charlton, and they've given various reasons, whether it's tendinitis, whether it's stomach flu, or whatever.
Yeah.
But, the guy has not been 100% in either one of the 2 series that the Sixers have had to play in.
Yeah.
But, when you're going up to Toronto, you always want to find an excuse the way Kawhi Leonard is playing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the highest scoring guy in the playoffs. I mean, he's had a couple of 40-point games against the Sixers and even in the first round.
He's
so
averaging
Kawhi
38.
Leonard has been playing lights out.
Yeah.
When you look at Kawhi Leonard play, he is right now the go-to guy in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He has not backed down from the luster that he's had. You think about, I believe it was about 3 years ago when he was handed it to the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
And he went down with that injury that cost him the following season, Charles.
On his foot, yeah.
The San Antonio Spurs probably would have won the NBA title that year. It showed how dominant a player that he is when he's healthy. And you look at what the Toronto Raptors have done this year with him in the lineup and in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, we wish them nothing but the best up north. It's a great series, even if Philadelphia gets knocked out, because if they don't win tonight, they're not going to come back and win anything, Big C. I think when you look at Portland, and they had their chance. Talk about having a chance. You're at home, Motor Center, one of the most difficult places to win in the NBA universe. And them good old boys from Denver came in there, and they played like they owned the Motor Center. At some point, they went to overtime, triple overtime, and then you had them come back and they stole the Game 4 in Portland when no one thought they had the stamina to do it. Portland's in trouble tonight up in Denver, the altitude difference, and the fact that I just want to. I mean, it's not guaranteed they can't win. They've already won up there, but emotionally, they had everything going for them. Big, so your thoughts?
Well, they did, Charlton, but also emotion only carries you so far in an NBA game.
Yeah.
Denver was the second best team in the West this past season.
Yeah.
And they weren't going to lay down because Portland had a hot start in game one of the series, Charlton. You're looking at a dominant player in Jokic.
Yeah.
Murray has played outstanding. You know, when you talk about combinations in the playoffs, no one has expected Murray to have this type of outbreak.
Yeah.
But he has done it. So you got balance in this Denver lineup.
Yeah.
You know, you got front court, back court. Millsap has played outstanding, Charlton.
He's good.
So when I look at what Denver's done, it doesn't surprise me that they've been able to handle Portland.
Yeah,
when people look at them, because, you know, especially on the East Coast, who stays up to 2 o'clock in the morning to watch a basketball game?
Charles Barkley.
And Portland has always been put on late.
Yeah.
So the world is finally getting a wake-up call and saying, hey, you know, this Denver and Portland team, you know, this is the best series in the NBA. I know everybody wants to talk about Golden State and Houston, saying, you know, it's the marquee series, but the best series has been Portland and Denver this year, Joe.
Yeah, it has been good when you have Murray and Jokic becoming only the second pair of teammates to score a triple-double in a playoff game since Magic Johnson and the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That says a lot about how dominant their team is. But we know this, it's all fair and love and war. They got to win it on the floor. I want to get your feeling. You know, Boston, again, we know with them and Milwaukee is probably over. You know, Paul Pierce was right. There will be a sweep. He just didn't know which green jersey. In fairness to Paul Pierce, he said it's over because he was looking at the team in the green jerseys. And sometimes Milwaukee will wear green jerseys and sometimes they wear black. So it's not really his fault, Big C. That makes any sense, too. So we know. Go ahead, your thoughts.
Well, it does, Charlton, because he wasn't looking at the front of the jersey. He was looking at everybody walking off the court when he said that.
Yeah. Plus, they use teleprompters anyway. They may not have even been his words. Sometimes guys go by what they're told to say and not what they feel. I'm just trying to cover from. I do want to get your thoughts on something, because we talk about the great players that make things happen. And I want to go back on this date, NBA 2002, I believe. It was the great Allen Iverson. He made that famous media press conference quote, practice? Practice? Man, y'all talking about practice? I'm talking about practice, man. Not a game, but practice. I know people laugh at him about that. But Allen Iverson always balled out. You never caught him, at least I didn't. Never heard of him saying, I'm too tired to play, or my stomach hurt, I got an ingrown toenail and I can't play. So there are players who take time off in practice, and they leave most of their energy for the game. Why was he so ridiculed for that, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, you know, he was talking about practice. You got players who take off in games, can't play games now. And you're talking about Embiid. Same Philadelphia City.
Yep.
This was a guy who was one of the premier players in the NBA during his playing time, Charlton. An MVP, and always an MVP candidate.
Yeah.
Led his team to the finals. So when the media wanted to come in to him talking about practice, why aren't you practicing? You know, these are the same people that don't understand the game.
Yeah.
Did you not watch the game?
Yeah.
When he goes out and he's the leading scorer in the game, the leading assist man in the game, and they're sitting there saying, well, you didn't practice this week.
Right.
And I'm a believer that. What the hell practice got to do with that? You know, I know one time I was called in the coach's office because I had cowardly teammates, Charlton, that complained that I wasn't practicing. Even though I was recovering from an injury, I was playing in the games. But I'd had this injury, so it did not allow me to go all out in practice throughout the week. So I came into the training room early in the morning with the trainer, spent hours in there, Charlton, before other teammates showed up. But in the game, and I asked the coach, I said, why don't you bring some of these cowards in that are questioning you, your authority, knowing that what my productivity is? Does any of them have the stats that I have? Do they have the sacks and the tackles that I have? That's what I want to ask you. And do you look at the game tape? Are you evaluating them? Are they grading out 100? Are they grading out in the high 90s? Who's grading out higher in the game? Is it me or is it them? So I understand, and this was long before Allen said practice. I was in the coach's office talking about, but we're talking about practice. When I'm playing in the game, I'm an all-star player. You talking about practice?
Now we know it makes a big difference. You got to have it ready for the game. So let me get your feeling when you talk about NBA players. Who would you want to have the ball in their hand down by 1, maybe 7 seconds left, and it's game 7 of any series. You think about Durant, you think about Curry, Kawhi Leonard, you think about Jokic, Steph Curry, of course, I think he's great. Giannis, who is becoming just an amazing personality just in a small market. Or is it James Harden? You look at Kyrie Irving, we know there's a lot of thoughts about him. Chris Paul, Damian Lillard, McCollum, Jamal Murray. How about Klay Thompson, Joel Embiid, or Ben Simmons? Any one of those players would you trust to have the ball in their hands, down by 1, game 7, 7 seconds left? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the way the playoffs have been playing out, right now I got to go with James Harden. James Harden has been lights out against the Warriors because he can get his shot off at any time from anywhere on the floor. If he wants to take the three-point shot, if he wants to penetrate to the lane, just his dribbling antics throws every player off.
Yeah.
It's hard to get a set on him. Other players are pretty predictable when they're taking their shots. James Harden's game right now is on point. You think about it, this guy averaged almost 37 points a game during the regular season. And rightfully so, he should be in the MVP race with anybody. And you can't narrow it down to, just two players. There's multiple players that should be in there.
Yeah.
But what James Harden has done by leading the Houston Rockets during the regular season and here in the playoffs, that's the guy I want to see with the ball with 7 seconds to go.
Especially he's going to get every call because he just consistent trying to get the call. If you're Steve Kerr, why do you have Curry trying to guard Harden? Put the ego aside. When they put Durant on Harden, Harden couldn't shoot. He had a hard time shooting when they had Durant on him, and he doesn't fall for the fouls. Also, just thoughts to Paul George. I believe he's having rotator cuff surgery for the OKC Thunder. We talk about guys that call the coach and say, hey, I don't know if I can play today, coach. George was balling out, and he needs to have surgery shortly after the season's over. Your thoughts?
Well, he did have rotator cuff surgery today to clean up something in the shoulder, Charlton, that he had injured. Also, Russell Westbrook had a minor procedure also. So the two superstars of that team had to go under the knife somewhat today. And, they'll have a speedy recovery and be ready for the season next year.
Yeah, we look, it's a lot like the playoffs is like the great Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder, you think, how can a man without vision be so accomplished and such a world-class performer? Well, there's thoughts that he visualizes so much that his sight doesn't get in the way. The way opposite of that, a lot of people see obstacles, and they don't use their subconscious mind or that third eye, the pineal gland, to get what they want to happen in life. So they're blocked by what they see. Guys that can shoot the lights out are like the great Stevie Wonder. No one can argue he's one of the best performers in the world. In fact, one of the best performers in the universe. There are players that they find that zone, Big C, and when they find it, it's hard to stop them. And speaking of finding zones, POTUS and Tiger Woods. Congratulations, Tiger, on that 5th green jacket. And I know we talked about it last week, and we talked about it yesterday, how we had the Prince Harry and Meghan Markle gave birth, baby of diversity. Congratulations, welcome to the monarchy. And now you have POTUS inviting Tiger Woods to the White House, probably the only person of color outside of Ben Carson that's ever been invited to the White House. And I noticed when he was putting that whatever he put around his neck, I don't know what it was, but it was eerily to what happened in the days of Jim Crow, how people with such vitriol. And this is the same man that wrote the article on the Central Park Five that wanted them all put to the death penalty. And I know people don't read a lot, so they go, what's Central Park Five? Well, Google it. And then you have him standing behind Tiger, putting something around his neck. And I just thought it came up in my gut, Big C. I just want to get your thoughts on it. What a grandstanding.
Well, it was grandstanding. What the president was looking for was an opportunity to bring somebody famous to the White House, saying that famous people want to be around me. So you throw out the most prestigious award of all to an active athlete. This has never been done to somebody at the height of their career winning a major event, bringing them in for the Presidential Medal of Freedom. What the president was looking for was a showstopper.
Yeah.
He knows how Tiger is in the public after he had won the Masters, after he had won the FedEx Cup last year, how much America loves him. So he wanted the opportunity to be loved like Tiger. So he brought in the most popular athlete in America. That's all that was.
Yeah.
He was looking for a photo op and an opportunity to say, hey, president's right there with Tiger. But this was an ill-timed event, Charlton, because you don't give this to an athlete when they're in the middle of their profession.
Right.
You give them post-profession, medals of honor after they've served out their career, Charlton, once they retire. We've seen all the great athletes before get this after they retire.
Yeah.
But this is just a grandstand moment by the president, bringing Tiger Woods into the Oval Office. This wasn't about sincerity and for career accomplishments, because his career is not over.
No.
You know, if Tiger goes out and wins 3 more events, 3 more majors, well, you know, you gave this guy this medal, and it's a prestigious honor.
Yeah.
But Tiger was in a rock and a hard place. Do I go to the White House? Because he could have gotten this from any president.
Yeah.
Whether it's this president or 3 presidents down the road, Tiger could have gotten this medal, and it would have been perceived. But what the president wanted was to grandstand, to bring in the most popular athlete most likely in the world now, to show the world stage that I'm a part of doing this.
Well, I know Tiger went to Stanford, but does he read? That same POTUS tweeted Bosa and told Nick Bosa to keep being who you are, with all the N-word tweets from he and his friends that they erased because they were embarrassed by them. If you're not embarrassed by it, why erase them? Does Tiger Woods know that POTUS tweeted out, "Good job, congratulations," to Bosa for tweeting the N-word? I guess people, I think they look like Tiger, is who they were referring to. And then Tiger stands there like a knucklehead, like he doesn't read. And you got to be socially conscious. He has kids that are kids of color. At that moment, you say, I'm not going to participate in that imagery. And that, to me, as a person of color, if you read, how can you stand there and have POTUS, of all people, who never apologized for such a Part 5, and just as recently as this week congratulated Bosa for the N-word stuff that's all over his Twitter, and then Tiger acting like he's ignorant. Does that hit you the way it hits me, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, no, Charlton, it hits me differently. You got to realize these 2 men have been business partners for over 20 years. They have a long-standing relationship. You also got to understand that Tiger designed Donald Trump's golf course over in Dubai.
Yeah.
So they've had a long-standing business partnership. That's the thing about it. You think about the president bringing a business partner into the White House, giving them the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Yeah.
So does that medal have the same luster that the other athletes who received this medal are other American citizens? No president, no previous president has brought a business associate into the White House to give them the Medal of Freedom. So this is how you have to look at it with Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Is this medal tarnished that he has it now because his business associate gave him the medal, not the president of the United States?
That's a very good way of looking at it. And again, last thing on that, I thought it was Colin Kaepernick that gave over $1 million to charity and to feed hungry people around the world. I would think that behavior would get the Medal of Freedom, but he was told by that same person putting the finger around Tiger Woods' neck, get the blank out of the country. For people that read, maybe that will sting a little bit more. If you don't read, just keep wondering who won the game. Big C, in the NHL last night, the Boston Bruins, they advanced to the conference finals. They shut out the Carolina Blue Jackets 3-0. I know hockey is an amazing sport. Still does not hold water to NBA basketball, but what a great feat by the Boston Bruins. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about the Bruins forcing this into a Game 7 to get to that point last night, and then shutting out the Blue Jackets, Charlton, in an epic battle. This has just been Boston strong when you think about it this year. The Patriots winning the World Series, the Red Sox winning the World Series, the Patriots winning the Super Bowl, but you got the Celtics on the brink of elimination. But Boston is still alive in the Stanley Cup hunt, Charlton, because you have the Bruins getting into the semifinals.
Yeah, so congratulations. Whatever. They call it Beantown, and maybe I should eat more beans. Maybe you should eat more beans instead of those Thin Mints, Big C. That gets you. How about that, Big C? How about get rid of the Girl Scout cookies? Eat more of those Boston baked beans. The Colorado Avalanche needed overtime last night to outlast the San Jose Sharks 4-3. And when you get to go and play against the Sharks, I still think about that power play with 5 minutes that helped them advance. Prop betting aside, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, here's the Avalanche not willing to lay down for the Sharks, Charlton, to get into a Game 7 in that series.
Yeah.
And this is the strength of the Rockies, when we look at where they are. We've seen this with the Denver Nuggets, Charlton, playing the Trailblazers in their series.
Yeah.
And now you see the Avalanche doing the same thing, in pressing a Game 7 versus the Sharks.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to the team that scores the most goals. Is really an exciting sport tonight. Game 7, NHL, Dallas Stars versus St. Louis Blues. Now, if you look at the NBA, they don't really have game sevens. We just always like a team winning in 5 or 6 games, rarely game 7. The NHL, to showcase the Dallas Stars and the St. Louis Blues, 2 great cities from the Midwest or Southwest, and looking forward to that, and may the best team win. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you think about how great the NHL playoffs have been, Charlton, there's been consistent 7-game series throughout. You talk about equal balance competitors is what you have. You know, and I would love to see St. Louis Blues win. This is a team that has never been to the Stanley Cup. We think about the teams that came in the 67 expansion. You know, you look at the Washington Capitals last year, winning their first Stanley Cup ever in franchise history after 40 years.
Yeah.
But you think about the St. Louis Blues, who came into the NHL in 1967, have never had the opportunity to hoist Lloyd Stanley's Cup. This would be an epic night, Charlton, if they could advance to the semifinals.
Yeah, I wish them all the best. It's all fair and love and war. If there's any power plays, keep in mind, maybe TNT will play the power play from the NHL also on their network, Big C, but we'll do it all the time. I want to just bring up baseball. When you think about the dominance of pitchers, it's like there's so many pitchers that are pitching so well. It's like a snake slithering across home plate in tall grass. Have you ever, down south, what do you do when you see a snake slithering across the grass trying to get to your collard greens, Big C? Do you pick it up with a stick and toss it out the garden, or where would people find that snake, Big C? Your thoughts?
It's called a shovel, Charlton. You know, that shovel will take off the head quite easily, Charlton.
Yeah.
And then you have an opportunity to skin it. You know, depending on the size of the snake,
yeah,
you could end up with a nice pair of shoes.
Yep.
But, you know, that meat, depending on the snake, is quite tasty.
Well, I hear people eat. I have never eaten a snake. I'm kind of afraid to ask him. What does it taste like, Big C? Is it like chicken, like everything else, Big C?
Well, you got to be careful depending on what it's been consuming, you know. But the thing about snakes, they eat fresh meat.
Yeah.
You know, they don't eat roadkill.
Okay.
They want it warm still.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, who wants it warm? Yeah, I know it's too early to start talking Cy Young in Major League Baseball. But if you look at the AL, Tyler Glasnow for the Tampa Bay, 6 wins. He has a 1.47 ERA, and you think that's good, and that's dominant. But in the National League, Zach Davies with Milwaukee, he has 4 wins. His ERA is 1.56. He's like that snake slithering through this field that you cut off the head off, Big C. Your nuts.
Well, you know, when you look at Tampa Bay, Charlton, this is the reason why they're first in the East.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's always talking about batting, but when you got a pitcher with 6 wins and less than a 2 ERA, Charlton, and you know, baseball is really not relevant until after Labor Day.
Right.
But when you look at the calendar and see that your team's in first place, that's when baseball really takes a hold.
Yeah.
But you got to establish early in the season if you're a pitcher, and that's what we're getting. We had Milwaukee, you know, 1 game away from the World Series last year, and Davis has picked up where he left off last year. So these 2 young pitchers, Charlton, are doing an outstanding job. They're not the big name, big money pitchers that we've seen in preseason.
No.
You know, when all these pitchers were holding out for bigger contracts. But, you know, it just shows the love of the game by these outstanding ball players.
Yeah, it really is amazing when you watch good pitching. Football, they say defense wins championships. I tend to think it's offense because if you don't score, you can't put points on the board. And in baseball, it definitely is pitching. Tonight's Major League schedule, Chicago White Sox at the Cleveland. I love the big C on the Cleveland's uniforms. Seattle at the New York Yankees. Boston at Baltimore. Talk about eating baked beans. I think Baltimore's good for clam chowder and they have good steak and beans in Baltimore. Texas at Pittsburgh. You have Minnesota at Toronto. There's a lot going on up in Canada. Whoa, Canada, Big C. Which game do you go see? You see the Raptors and the Sixers, or do you see Minnesota Twins coming in there playing against Toronto, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the way everything is positioned in that city, I think you're going to get more people outside of the Air Canada Center watching the basketball game than you'll have in the Sky Dome watching, you know, the baseball game. Because the Raptors are the hottest ticket. You know, this getting to this point in the season in basketball, you have very few games left. Baseball, you still got, you know, 120 games left in the season. And you know, you think about the Raptors. They represent all of Canada.
Yeah, they do.
Last year they had the best record in the East. They were knocked out in the first round. They have now made it to the second round with an opportunity to get to the semifinal. get to the Eastern Finals, and if they knock out this series versus the Sixers.
Yeah, that's true. And back to baseball, we have the Angels, LA Angels at Detroit, and Arizona at Tampa Bay, Washington at Milwaukee. Man, Milwaukee is a great team right now. Philadelphia at St. Louis, Miami at Chicago. I love the Big C on the Cubs uniforms. I love the Big C so much, Big C. I hope that the Cubs can win that division. Kansas City at Houston, San Francisco at Colorado, Cincinnati at Oakland, Atlanta's at Los Angeles Dodgers, and New York is at San Diego, the Mets at San Diego. So we know it's all fair and love and war. We wish everyone well in baseball, especially when you're trying to go up against pitchers that pitch so well it's like a snake slithering across the grass and tall grass. I want to just bring up something in the world of sports also, and I know many people don't want to really go and talk about it, but it's all fair and love and war. I look at two of their attorneys for the New England Patriots owner, Bob Kraft, his defense team. They were accused of lying in court. I don't think that's ever happened before that someone lied in court, Big C. But you think about it. You think about the prosecutors that are dealing with the solicitation case of prostitution. The Palm Beach County Attorney's Office filed a motion Tuesday asking that they be held for contempt of court. Now, we know these are the same people trying to say that the videotapes don't exist, and they're trying to really save face for Bob Kraft, who's also a friend of POTUS. I just want to get your feeling about the court and this NFL owner of a football team. Your thoughts?
Well, you just mentioned POTUS.
Yeah.
What has he done more than any other president in history? He has lied, okay?
Yeah.
So the apple don't fall far from the tree. Robert
Right.
Kraft is a great friend of his.
Yeah.
So you think that he's not going to employ people to lie? I mean, POTUS has employed people to lie for him.
Yeah.
So Robert, he's taking POTUS's moniker. Employ people that will lie for you. But I'm proud of the prosecutor down in Palm, Florida.
Yeah.
To file sanctions against these attorneys to ask that they be sanctioned.
Yeah.
And file contempt charges on them. This is what the justice system is. When you think about how many minority men are in prison because people have lied on them, Charlton.
Right.
Prosecutors have lied on them.
Yep.
Just to get them in jail. And here's Robert Kraft, multi-billionaire, Charlton. But just because you are rich don't mean that you can lie to the justice system.
Yeah.
And I would hope that this judge releases the tape of Robert Kraft so that it can be blasted over the airways, so that we can see that he is a normal person, Charlton.
Yeah.
That you don't put him up on a pedestal because he's won 6 Super Bowls and he's worth billions of dollars.
Yeah.
That he has the same faults that everybody else, and he's committed a criminal act, and he should be brought to court for it, Charlton.
Yeah, especially when I look at this criminal justice reform that everybody is pushing for. They're young people of color. I know that when you think about Richard Sherman and how he doesn't care, boasting with the N-word tweets and all that, and his friends hang out with the N-word tweet like handshakes. And there are a lot of people that say, well, the man, he was young, he couldn't read, he was dumb, he didn't know what he was doing. No, quit standing up for ignorant people. So,
well, if he was young and dumb and didn't know what he was doing, how do you learn how to delete your tweets, Charles?
That's true.
You can't use one to cover the other.
That's a very good point. And speaking of deleting what we saw with our own eyes, you have Omaha, Beach, maximum security, Country House. All 3 horses would not run in the Preakness. This is the first time that the Kentucky Derby winner has not run in the Preakness since 1969. I know you can't blame a horse for slipping in the mud, and you can't blame a jockey for not being able to control a 1,500-pound horse that's running in the mud. But it's just egregious with the prop betting and all. And $99 million did not change hands because of they changed the horse winner. I mean, that's all real. It's so real you can feel it in your gut. Give me your feeling on these 3 horses not running in the Preakness, and that hasn't happened since 1969, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you think about the egregiousness of this. All the people who lost money and made money on these 3 horses being available for or not being available for the Kentucky Derby, and now they're not running in the Preakness.
Right.
But think about this. Think about all the vitriol that black NBA players get when they sit out a game.
Yeah.
You got the media talking, you got the fans talking about, well, I paid my money to come see this guy play.
Right.
And he's not playing. Think about the fans who go bet on horse racing. And you got the top 3 horses that were in the Kentucky Derby. You got the first and second favorite,
Yep.
plus the winner of the Kentucky Derby not running in the Preakness, Charlton. Think about the attendance. There's no opportunity now to have a triple crown.
Yeah.
So where is the excitement for the Preakness race, where you would have had, you're going to lose tens of thousands of fans and money in betting, Charlton, because these three horses are chosen not to attend.
Yeah.
This is something that should be held against the trainers and the owners. If you don't show up for the Preakness, you shouldn't be able to run into Belmont. I mean, they got to be able to treat these rich, white, elite establishments just like they treat the rich, black NBA players.
Yeah.
If there's going to be a fine, if there's going to be sanctions, you got to do it against these people also. You got replay in horse racing like you do in the NBA.
Yeah.
But they treat these white owners and trainers better than they treat NBA players, because the NBA players get a fine when they sit out. We hear the media blasting them all the time. Oh, well, he's sitting out, and the fans are going to be
upset,
left short because they spent their good money to come watch him play.
Yeah,
they care more about a damn horse than what they do about a black NBA player.
Well, I know people have to look at that too, and I just hope everybody is enjoying the world of sports and politics. When people say sports and politics don't mix, how does Tiger Woods go to the White House to get the presidential Medal of Freedom? Who is he freed? I just don't understand that. It's some things just don't make sense, but it all makes sense when you follow Big C Sports. You can follow us Monday through Friday on iHeartRadio Network, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, also Xfinity Comcast when you follow Big C Sports. And we just hope that everybody in the sports universe will find time to do things that make your heart happy. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, the president is trying to alter the military academies here in the United States. Military academies have brought in athletes over the decades, Charlton.
Yeah.
But you have an obligation to serve your country after your time is done in the military academy.
Yeah.
President Trump is trying to circumvent that, Charlton, allowing military athletes to enter into professional sports right after their playing days are over, instead of serving their term in military service for the free education that they've gotten at the military academy, Charlton. Think about what that will do. It will now have the military academy recruiting players, Charlton, that don't fit the physical mold of the military establishment that they're going into. Say the Air Force Academy. You can't have 6'6", 300-pound pilots, okay? You can't have 6'6", 300-pound seamen that are going to be in a submarine. So the president is talking about altering the military service of the United States, even though he chose not to serve in it.
Yep, I know it's all fair and level where POTUS has his hands in everything. And speaking of having your hands in everything, you can do every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.